Now, from creating his famously violent characters to revealing how he and his wife split the gardening, one of Britain's most celebrated comedians has shared all in his new memoir.
Ade Edmondson first rose to fame in the 1980 sitcom The Young Ones. He's gone on to star on both stage and screen throughout his 40-year career. We're going to speak to him in a moment, but first let's have a look at some of his best bits.
You're just too good to be true. Can't take my eyes off of you.
I think I'll be on my way then.
No! No!
Wait! What is it? Do you want a cup of tea?
It's quite easy, really. All you've got to do is match up 6 pictures of famous noses with 6 pictures of famous bogies. Thought that'd shock you.
When I broke my neck at school, all I was given was an aspirin.
And I always know I'm going to wake up with the most attractive person in the world.
Morning, Richie.
Morning, Ade.
Ade is with us now. Morning.
Good morning.
So, go on. Were they your best bits?
Well, that was a strange little package, wasn't it? But there you go.
How much of
it's
that...
been a very odd career.
It
so,
has,
you know, I can understand that people find it difficult.
And it's lovely to have you here in the northwest of England because, actually, if you rewind all those years back, this is kind of where it all started.
Rick and I met here in 1975 at the Manchester University Drama Department, same year, same course. And this is where we developed our comedy. Equity was a closed shop at the time, and in order to get into Equity, you had to kind of forge some variety contracts, and we did this by playing the Band on the Wall, which is now a sort of swanky art centre.
Yeah.
It was just an old jazz club then.
And tell us about that moment when you first saw each other, when you first saw Rick.
I first saw him on a bus. I didn't realise it was him. And there was a bloke in front of me, and he was... It was in the days of smoking on buses. And he was tapping a cigarette at number 6. And he was tapping both ends, and I thought, that bloke's an idiot. Because you only need to crimp one end to stop the tobacco falling out. And then he lit up and he blew 6 perfect smoke rings, and that made me hate him as well. And we followed each other into the department, and I discovered it was Rick Mell. 3 years later, we were sort of official double act, you know. There was no other way to get into the union. We became comedians by accident.
Really?
I think we'd have both been actors if the union had let us.
What, straight actors rather than comic writers?
Yeah, I think we'd have. Yeah, I think that's what we thought we were going to be when we arrived.
But comedy took you in.
Comedy accidentally happened.
But actually, a lot of your work, the work is funny, but it's acting.
It is. I've never been a stand-up comedian. I've never stood up and said, "And this is me." Isn't it funny about sandwiches? I've never done any of that. So
I'm sure you could.
I've always been a character. I mean, I think there's a lot of actors like that. I think Richard Bryars is another one. I think Arthur Lowe. Everyone thinks of them as very funny, but they're basically character actors.
Your memoir, you're trying to kind of understand who you are. You're sort of trying to work yourself out. And even the title, Berserker, kind of does that.
Yeah. It's called Berserker because I've got a sort of a faint amount of Viking heritage. And
10%, isn't it?
Yeah, 10%.
Viking?
10% Scandinavian.
All right. Hold on to that.
Left your boat on the canal this morning, yeah?
But there's a berserker, if you don't know, I'm sure you probably do, is a kind of Viking warrior, and they were a special unit, elite unit, and they were elite because they were drunk, and on henbane, so they were drugged and drunk, and it made them invincible. They're like wild men, and that seemed to encapsulate a lot of my early childhood and teens and sort of into my 20s. And a berserker frame of mind. They sort of craved excitement, and I had a rather strange childhood. I was sent away when I was quite young, and beaten a lot by teachers with sticks, and it made me kind of replace the idea of love with a search for adrenaline, and that's why it's called Berserker. You've gone quiet there. You are.
What do you? I'm looking at. Yeah. What do you mean?
What?
Well, you replaced love with a search for adrenaline. Is that because that was what you became used to?
Yeah, I don't think I kind of understood what love was. Oh, don't go wild. But I don't think I did. It was a bizarre little childhood, and I didn't really find love until the sort of to my 20s.
But you found it.
I did. Yes.
So the damage wasn't permanent.
There's a Japanese art form called kintsugi, where if you break that cup and you mend it with gold sort of glue, and I think I'm that. I think I'm perfectly fine, and I can hold a cup of coffee.
And gold shows the cracks.
You can see where I've been, and I think you've got to kind of live with that, haven't you?
Cracks make us all more interesting.
Otherwise, you start to hate yourself.
Yeah.
You talk about finding love, and we talked about you and your wife, Jennifer Saunders. In the book, you don't talk a huge amount about family. There's a lot. You're still quite private, although you're also out there.
Yes, I decided to make it mostly about myself.
Don't want to share the limelight.
Well, you know, there's a law of diminishing returns in that kind of. We used to call it the hello complex. Because if you talk too much about the Hello magazine, if you talk too much about yourself and your partnership, the next day you will split up.
You ruin it.
So we kind of keep our private life very private.
There's your bathrobes, yeah, matching bathrobes.
Oh, Christ almighty. Where did you find
Dressed
that?
up for
Where was
something
that?
We were picking up honorary doctorates.
Together?
From, yes. Yes, we are both doctors.
That wasn't an hello shoot.
It was a really bad hello shoot.
But I mean, it's interesting because you're famously happy, successful together, and yet, but private. Is it been sometimes difficult to hold back?
I think people would be distressed and bored by how tedious and ordinary our lives are.
Like splitting the gardening.
We you know, she does the pretty stuff, I do the vegetables. We spend most of our lives watching rubbish telly with a meal on our knees. You know, it's
not like highbrow comedy.
Everyone thinks it's going to be a sitcom in our house, but it's quite ordinary.
Go on. What's the rubbish telly?
Well, we watch
Steady.
Antiques Roadshow.
It's not rubbish.
Well, it's sort of rubbish, isn't it?
What would Vivian make of that?
Well, I don't know. You know, Vivian was a medical student, and he would be a consultant by now.
He would, wouldn't he?
Yeah. And I think when I was at university, there was a big part of the student body was trainee doctors, and they seemed to be the drunkest at the time. They seemed to be the most like Vivian.
And the most sleep deprived.
Yeah.
A bit like you.
Yeah.
Don't sleep so well.
I don't sleep well. If I go to bed thinking about something, it'll wake me up, sort of early in the morning.
I was listening to the full extended version of your Desert Island Discs, which has had a remarkable resonance. You know, your stories about life with Rick, losing Rick, and just about your childhood. That's really resonated and struck a chord. What sort of response have you had to that?
Yeah, it's been very flattering, really. It's when I wrote the book, I didn't want to write one of those. This sounds stupid. I didn't want it to be self-obsessed, which sounds odd if you're writing an autobiography. But I wanted it to have a connection with other people, and I wanted to try. So I talk a lot about the world I was living in as the book goes on, and I kind of dot it with what was number one at the time and what I thought. When I hear a record, it's like one of Proust's Madeleines to me. I can imagine where I was, what the cars look like, you know. So it's full of kind of a social history of our times. So anyone who's of my sort of age or 10, 15 years either side will hopefully kind of find something of themselves in the book. That's what I'm hoping.
They will. It's lovely to see you, Ade.
Oh,
thank you very much indeed. And Ade's memoir.
Can I just say?
Go on, yes.
Because you were doing the looky-likey thing with him.
Go on.
Penfold from Danger House, isn't it?
Thank you.
The producer should get up a picture.
Well, if Ade Edmondson says it,
Thank you.
I mean, We did have an Eric Clapton earlier, which I
Did
thought
you?
was a good one.
Oh, wow.
A young Eric Clapton.
And a Michael Ball.
A Michael Ball. Yeah.
I'm everybody. I'm every man. Thank you very much indeed
I
for
mean it
coming in.
kindly.
No,
Yeah.
thank you very
All right,
much.
I'll go.
I was going to be very nice about your book, but Ade's memoir, Berserker, is available from Thursday. Danger Mouse is on CID. No, right, it's coming out to 8 o'clock. We're going to have the headlines for you in just a moment. But
I think you're
first,
brilliant in it.
News, travel and weather, where you are. See you in a
He's
second.
tenfold. What am I? Am I doing?